Hi guys, it's Leah with Family Heritage Living. I am running really late on my second ferment for my kombucha. I checked it actually about a week and a half ago and it was ready then. I just have not been able to get to it. One of the things that I had wanted to do for you to see was I wanted to run some fresh ginger root through my juicer, and I just haven't been able to do it. So instead of continually putting this off, I'm going to turn the kombucha. I'm going to go ahead and do the second ferment. I want to show you, let's see, I got one that's thicker than the other. Here's the original Scoby that went in, and here's the Scoby that developed after I started the kombucha. And this is really quite a bit thicker. It's probably twice as thick as I would let it get normally. Usually when it's half this thick, it's when I check the kombucha and call it good. Now I did check it a week and a half ago, and it was ready. It was probably ready 2 weeks ago. It went really quick. It usually takes about 10 days. And I don't know, I'm thinking we're over 3 weeks since I did this. So it's pretty strong, which means that it has a pretty high vinegar taste. Normally, when I do a ferment or a second ferment, I put about 1 ounce to 2 ounces of juice into the second ferment. This time I will definitely do 2 ounces, if not a little more, to see. I've never done it where it's been this strong before. Josiah really liked the flavor. RJ liked the flavor, but he said it had quite the bite. But he likes stuff like that. And he said this would be something he would sip instead of wanting to slam it down. So I don't know. We'll try and find out. Maybe we'll like it better this way. All right. So for this round, I was going to do blueberry ginger, and I just have the blueberry. Actually, I have the ginger in the ice box, but it'll have to wait. And all I do, it's just a guesstimation. I look for however much I want to put in there. The thing about the juices, the good juices that you use, you want a high quality juice to put in with it. Typically this brand, it depends on the store, but you're looking at normally $7 to $10 for a jar of this. And I know it sounds outrageous, but think about if you drink pop, or if you buy your coffees on the road, just in a couple days, how much you spend. Even you don't have to drink pop on the road, but just drinking it at home, how much you spend on that. So if you buy this, I can't see it, 32 ounces. So if you use 2 ounces per jar, you get 16 jars. So it's really not very expensive at all to do this, and definitely a high quality juice. I already did the jars behind me.
I'm sour as it is, so thanks for the good bite.
It's gonna be a minute, bud. Okay. So now I have the most fertile kombucha. Scobies. I have the most fertile Scobies that I have ever.
Is it folksy too?
Is that what?
Folksy too?
Folksy too. Don't put it.
You can cut that out.
The Waltons. Okay. Our rabbits don't breed as well as our kombucha or our Scobies breed. Okay, go down here. I know these look really gross, and because they're so thick, I'm going to remove them. And I have got so many of these things going on. I'm going to use a half of a container of the liquid and keep the Scobies in there. So they look like they'd feel nasty, but they really don't. I mean, they really do. You're like, ooh, I don't want to touch that. But they're not slimy like you would think by looking at them. Now, it's easier if you have a funnel or a jar like I have right here. This is not the best pouring utensil, but it's the best one I have on hand right now. When you do this, you want to leave about 1 inch of headspace to the top of your container. When you put the lid on tight. You don't want it loose. It's exact opposite. When you do the kombucha, obviously you want it loose because you're using a cloth, so it aerates. When you do the second ferment of the kombucha, you want to have that lid on tight. And you should go back periodically and check that lid, because the pressure in here will loosen that lid up, and then you'll have a flat kombucha. Molly, go lay down. The other thing I wanted to mention was The other thing I wanted to mention, if I didn't already, about the juice, the higher grade juice is really thick. And if you were to take a drink of this right now, it would probably have a thick texture to it, at least in my opinion. And the longer that the second ferment gets to sit, the better that it becomes. It like becomes part. I know this is like layman's terminology, but it's the only way I can describe it. It becomes part of the kombucha, so the thickness thins out, and you can drink the kombucha. You can drink the kombucha after the second ferment 3 to 5 days. It's not going to hurt it to sit longer. Somebody asked me in the previous video about if we have to refrigerate it. You know, there's a lot of things that say refrigeration required. Without refrigeration for part of the year, a lot of things we have do not get refrigerated that you know, a typical household would refrigerate. So I guess that's something, you know, you need to look into. I couldn't really advise on that. So you know, I just wouldn't want to advise you on that. I tried to look it up real quick and didn't see anything in a brief search. You got to do what you feel comfortable with. For us, you know, I let it sit with the second ferment. When we're ready to drink it, that's when I refrigerate it. Now I've had this stuff sitting 3-4 weeks before on the second ferment, and haven't thought twice about putting it in the cooler to get it cold during, you know, even the summer months. But again, it's what you feel comfortable with and what you have educated yourself with, the information you have that you find. And all information can be very different. Again, when the kombucha gets thick enough, they pull apart. Something about a thick kombucha, it creates, if you're using it to begin with, and it's not getting thick because you're doing the fermentation, but you start with a thick kombucha, it does have a different flavor to the kombucha. I'm telling you, we just have fertile kombucha. We have folksy kombucha. Some people, and I think I've touched on this on the last video, some people cut their kombucha. I've never cut it, I've just peeled it apart. I don't usually let my kombucha get quite this thick before starting the second ferment. Now, if you've never had fermented the second ferment kombucha, know that there's pressure that builds up in the bottles, okay? You do not want to shake that. It's like a pop. Either it's going to blow the top or it's going to make it flat. So there are different things that can cause the kombucha to be flat even on the second ferment. I cannot tell you what all those different variations are. It's just kind of working with it and, you know, getting to know the environment in your home and how your kombucha reacts to the different fermentations. I had one viewer ask. She's got a Scoby she's had for about 3 months, so I can imagine it's pretty thick. And she said she's kind of intimidated about it. Now,
is it moving?
Because I can imagine the thickness of the Scoby, as long as, you know, the Scoby is fine, texture, smell, you know, it's going to be fine to use. If you could pull it apart, separate it like I started to show you on some of these. I stated that some people cut theirs. I've never cut mine, but that's something you could research on the internet. And if you have any concern, you know, the old adage we learned growing up in the 80s, when in doubt, throw it out, toss it, start over. Just go get yourself another original or plain kombucha, start another Scoby, and in about 10 days you're going to be good to go to start a new batch. And if that might be the best route to go, because it's going to build your confidence if you're have any trepidation about using that extra thick one for as long as it has sat. The more kombucha you make, it's going to happen. Your Scobies are going to get thick, and you're going to have to come to terms with either separating them or, you know, just pitching it. Or, you know, if you've got a community type situation where you can share your Scobies, kind of like the sourdough starter you can't ever get, you know, rid of because you've got so much of it and you've already inundated your friends with it. And if your Scobie's fertile, you're going to have it. So, all right. I think I covered everything. I'm kind of feeling scatterbrained here. I guess it comes up over here. So, I guess, as always, thanks for watching. Give us a like. Follow us on our blogs if you'd like. Josiah's doing pretty good about keeping up. We won't talk about mine. And follow us on Facebook, Pinterest, you know, pin us to your boards, whatever, the whole 9 yards. You guys got the message. You're social media freaks.
In the nicest way.
Yeah. You, Josiah.
I guess I'll put this together. Yeah, because I've got so many kombuchas going on, I have another jar, the one that I showed you on the last video. See, I've got a kombucha or a Scoby pull in there. And that one just tore apart.
There's a bad one. There's a bad one.
Sometimes it can be a little
There.
hard.
Eventually I'm going to have to let some of these go unless I plan on, I can do about 6 to 8 jars at a time.
Those Scobies?
All right, so yeah. Again, we're going back to see how much little liquid is actually in here compared to the Scobies. I'm losing my lamp. That's what the problem is. I have to hurry here. And they're small, but they'll grow.
I'll turn it up again.
No, leave it. Quick, do the sign off.
So, I guess this is a Scoby hotel. I don't normally...
Nice smell.
Just a minute. Do so many. It's horrible being a hoarder when you have Scobies. Can you still see?
Yeah, see just fine.
All right, so that is that for the second ferment. We'll see how it goes, and maybe we'll do another video here after we let it ferment and let you guys see the whoosh. If you do it and the second ferment does not seem as carbonated as you like, I just recommend you let it sit a little longer to improve the carbonation, because I don't think 3 to 5 days is honestly quite long enough. I mean, it does get fizzy, but I think it needs a week or two, in my personal opinion, but everybody's different. So, all right, thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon. God bless.